this computer. We are now live, so please don't swear because other people will hear your very rude words. I don't generally swear too loudly, but I try to do it under my breath. I also have a sense of humor, so everybody's aware. What I'm doing here that you're not seeing me do is I am going to open up one of my 3 websites. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to point out to you a spreadsheet that you may be interested in downloading. The logic behind this is going to help you do your taxes. So before we even get started, I am going to share this with you, and I am going to share it in the chat so that you have access to it. So here is a link. I am going into chat now, and I am dropping the link for everyone to copy paste. That particular link is going to take you to, as I said, one of my 3 websites that I own. On that website, as you see here, these are resources that I have for clients or people in general, but specifically what I want you to look at is this income tax resources. These are absolutely free. I do not charge for these, but the one that you want to spend the most time on is this one right here. This is a worksheet that I've created for small business owners to help them prepare their taxes for either themselves to do or for another business owner to do for them. So for example, you may want to go to someone who does taxes and have them done professionally. If you don't, then this will at least give you the start that you need to, if you haven't used a program like QuickBooks Online or Mint or something, you now have this Excel spreadsheet to help you. So once you click on the button itself, what will happen is you'll get an immediate download to your computer. If you're using a cell phone or an iPad, this is an Excel document that is easily transferable to Google Sheets. Okay. I've tried to make it very, very simple if I possibly could. Now, when you click on the spreadsheet, and this is where I'm going to start because this will help you, it does isolate different things that you can expense for your small business. It's kind of important. And I'm going to do a quick review of it with you. I'm just going to close some things here so I can see you. Like your faces, I'm so sorry. I'm decreasing so I can't see what everyone looks like. So I apologize now. This here is an income and expenses worksheet. On the bottom is a summary. This will give you one pager of what you can provide to your tax preparer or that you can use for preparing your taxes yourself. The second tab over is income. As you can see, it is by month, which is great. What you need to do is change the company name, the year end, which would be December 31st, 2020. And it does give you prompts. Include all taxes in this income. So if you prepare or if you have a business that makes more than $30,000 in gross revenues, you should be collecting HST. If that is the case, you are going to plug those numbers in right here with the HST included because it will pull the HST out for you. Okay. The next tab over is called cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold are materials and people that you pay to make that money. So let's talk about Epicure, since you're all Epicure consultants. You went out and you had to buy product. You had to buy samples. You had to buy paper. You had to buy bags to give your product to your customers. You didn't have to buy those items unless you sold something. That's called cost of goods sold. So if I were to pay Anne to monitor this call for me today, that call, that cost is cost of goods sold because I didn't have to pay her if I didn't have to have this call. Does that make sense? And I can't see any of you. And if it doesn't make sense, let me know. Put your hand up, unmute yourself and tell me.
There is one question from Nancy Murray.
Yes,
And she
Nancy?
says, besides, I friggin' love you already. That's not the question. But she says, so even if Epicure, do we still need a HST number?
So if you make $30,000 in your side hustle, not in wages with someone else, That is completely different. You receive a T4 for that. A T4 is employed income with your boss, if you will. But you are your own boss when you have a side hustle or a small business. If you make $30,000 in gross revenues and you are not an Epicure consultant, yes, you need an HST. As an Epicure consultant, it's covered by Epicure. You're good to go. Now, that being said, there are times when you go to Staples, you go to Walmart, you go to the Dollarama, you go somewhere and you buy paper, envelopes, cards, uh, something for your Epicure business, you're going to pay HST on that. You can't get around it. That HST amount, you are not going to separate. You're going to include it in with your costs because that is part of your expense. Clear as mud?
I think so. We'll see if Nancy or anyone else has questions. Just keep putting them in the chat. Thanks.
So if it's clear, just thumbs up, high five, show that you're okay with that. And Anne will let me know if you're not. Expenses. Ladies, gentlemen, I can't tell if there's gentlemen on the call. This is where you're going to spend most of your time, is on this little purple tab called expenses. Look at what I have for you. When you prepare your taxes for Revenue Canada with your side hustle, there's certain categories you're allowed to claim. Specifically, all of them are listed right here, just like they would be on a tax return. Okay? I'm going to explain them to you so that you have an understanding of them. You are allowed to claim advertising as a business expense. So maybe you paid for some Facebook ads saying, I'm going to have this Epicure Zoom party. Advertising is an expense you can write off against your business. Meals and entertainment. Unfortunately, ladies, in certain cases, ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. In certain cases, meals and entertainment is absolutely a business expense. But for most of us on the call, I'm going to say that it isn't. If you have meals and entertainment as an expense for your business, I want you to privately reach out to me and let's have a chat about it, because in certain cases it is allowed and in other cases it is not. I'm not going to bore you with the details here, but generally speaking, if you do have meals and entertainment, reach out to me privately and we can have a chat about it. What is bad debts? Bad debts is an expense that you can claim against your taxes as an expense. What is bad debt? When somebody orders something from you and they don't pay you, but you've paid for the product and it's on your as revenue that you've earned and you didn't earn it, then that's a bad debt. Generally speaking, for most of the people in this crowd, that is not something you're going to worry about. But if somebody didn't pay you, you're just not going to record it as revenue, as money that you've earned on your T4A, just so you know, because that's what you're going to be receiving. Insurance. This is not going to affect most of you on this call. And I want you to be aware of that. So you're going to see that there's holes here that aren't going to affect you. What is going to affect you? You could have advertising. You could have interest for your bank account. That's your business bank account. You could have special fees or memberships that Epicure asks you to pay for. You could have office expenses. These are things that you bought from Dollarama, from Walmart, from Staples, from your local office supply store. You definitely will have those expenses. What are supplies? Supplies are things that you buy from Epicure. So for example, when you go in and you're placing your order, there is that one section where you're buying catalogs, you're buying bags, you're buying possibly pens, or maybe you're buying demonstration items that you're going to demonstrate on your Zoom calls because none of us can get out of our houses right now. Those are supplies. You're going to record that right here on this particular line, right over here. And watch, if I put in $100, look what happens. It automatically, there's the $100, add those two together, that's your $100. Right? See, if I put another $100 here, this is increased. There's my $200. You could have legal, accounting, or professional fees. So if you have someone who's going to prepare your taxes for you, guess what? That is a tax write-off for your business. not for your personal taxes, because this is a side hustle and because you are allowed to claim certain expenses that you see right here. The cost of preparing this part of your taxes is a business write-off for you. You're going to want that. Hello,
Oh,
Jacqueline. I saw you come in.
we have a few questions from, actually, it's the same question.
That's okay.
Allison and Sandra
Yep,
both would like to know, would grocery items for live demos for cooking classes
absolutely.
count as supplies?
It
And then
does.
Sandra had the same question.
Absolutely. So let me explain to you. You cannot go out and buy groceries for your family and expect to write that off. But get your receipt, only buy the items for your demos, and that is a business expense. Each and every time. Each and every time. Um,
Melissa says, do pre recorded demos count as well?
did you buy the food? The answer is yes. You bought the food once. I don't care if you've pre-recorded the demo or not. At the end of the day, you didn't spend that money unless you had to for the business. Your words you're always going to remember here is, did I spend that money for the business? Question mark. If the answer is yes, then it is a business expense. That means food that you buy for demos. That means bags that you buy. That means you buy from Epicure so that you can, the spices, that is a demo cost. So it's just like being a makeup artist. They buy makeup, they wear makeup, but the product that they buy, they use for a demonstration is a business write-off. If you were a construction guy and you had to buy construction boots, same thing. It's just like buying food for a demo. Those construction boots you had to buy to do your job. Same thing. You can't, on the other hand, take your family out for dinner and write that off. Sorry, you can't do that. But you can definitely write off demo food.
Okay, quick question from Allison. If
Yes, ma'am.
I've been circling the items on the receipt, is that acceptable?
It's absolutely acceptable. Not a question. What is not acceptable is pulling out your credit card statement that has a single line on it that says you spent $100 at Foodland. That is not acceptable. You absolutely need to have the physical document. I'm sorry, I'm reaching over here. The receipt. You need the actual receipt. If this receipt has both family and business on it, circle the business. Keep the receipt, because if you are reviewed by Revenue Canada, this receipt will save your bacon. Next
One
question.
more question from Salima.
Hello,
She
Selena.
says, I'm a pampered chef consultant. She snuck in here. Don't hate her. We still love her.
We still love you. You're all good.
What about Canva Pro and Zoom app? Can we claim the cost of apps we need to use to run our virtual business?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes,
Salima, you
ma'am.
didn't have to admit you're a pampered chef.
So,
You're so sweet.
full disclosure, I'm a unique representative. I'm an Epicure consultant. I run 2 accounting practices. I have mentees that I do inside of accounting. Trust me, I totally understand wearing a lot of hats. It's just my world. Yes, you can write off apps as long as it's for your business. So what kind of apps can you write off? You can write off Canva. You can write off SmarterQ. You can write off, and you did it yesterday. I can't remember. Sorry, it's off the top of my head. The app that you were since share. I cannot say cinch. Okay, I obviously need more coffee. Cinch
Okay, we'll send you coffee after this.
share. Man, I need coffee bad. I can't even speak. Those apps you pay for to run your business. So remember what I said. Did I spend this money to run my business? If the answer is yes, it is a business expense. It's written off against any income that you generate. So let's talk about some of those expenses. And we're getting some pretty good questions here. I'm actually going to stop screen sharing here for a second if I can remember how to do it. There we go. Okay, so what can you write off? You can write off apps. You can write off any physical products that you do for advertising. I've done PDFs from Canva using my credit card, and I've sent that PDF to physical locations. That can be written off. As I mentioned, you can write off the bags. If you go and you buy product to demo from Epicure, from the grocery store, you can write that off as long as it is strictly for the demo. Okay, just make sure. If you buy, here's the best part. You go buy that new, and I love this, by the way, that round silicone cooking apparatus. Oh my good God, ladies, I'm telling you, my parent that I take care of, I'm a primary caregiver for, that thing has saved my bacon more times than I can count. I can cook a chicken in that in 15 minutes, have dinner on the table. It's awesome. That I have demoed. Guess what? Business write-off. Even though I have used it for personal use. I sat down, I did a Zoom call, I did a party, I used it. It was my tool. It's just like your kit, ladies. It's just like your kit. Okay. If you buy it to demo, then it is a business write-off, not a portion, but 100%. Okay. So products that you buy from Epicure. Maybe you went out and you bought a special apron because your Epicure apron got destroyed or the cat ate it or something. That apron that you bought from the local store and you had monogrammed with your name saying Epicure's the greatest, the monogram is a business expense. The apron is a business expense. Any cost to have that apron shipped to you is a business expense because, of course, we're all COVID homebound, right? Where depending on where we live, we're COVID homebound. All of those costs are business expenses. Is that clear? Is it clear as mud? Awesome. I'm seeing some nodding heads here. Okay, so taxes. Let's talk about some of those taxes. What can't you write off? Let's start with that. If you have a vehicle and you drive from your home to drop off product and you don't write down the mileage, you cannot write off your vehicle costs. You need to have a mileage log. So what I want you to do is either pull out your notepad on your phone, write down the mileage to go from point A, which is your home, to your customer's house. Every time you do that, you're going to write it in your phone. You're going to write it on a calendar, a physical calendar. You're going to put it into Google Calendar. I don't care where you put it somewhere. Because here's the thing. Every time you use your personal vehicle to do business things, you can write off the business portion. Every gas receipt that you put gas in your car, you're going to keep it. I don't care if it's for business. I don't care if it's for personal. You're going to keep all of those receipts from January 1 to December 31st. Every time you change a tire on your car and it costs money, you're going to keep that receipt from January 1 to December 31st. Every time you change the oil in your car, you're going to keep that receipt from January 1 to December. There's a theme here to December 31st. Every time you spend money on your vehicle, regardless of what it's for, you're going to keep that receipt, whether it's for personal or business, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the year, every time you went to a customer's house, that was mileage on your vehicle. That mileage, you can claim that as an expense. So long story short, we add up all of those expenses. We take a portion of it based on how much was business and how much was personal, and that decreases the income, which means you pay less taxes. So what you take away from everything I just said, we want to decrease your income as much as possible so you pay less taxes. We want to do it legally, we want to do it efficiently, and we want to make sure that you do not get audited so that you get penalties and interest. How do we stop the penalties and interest? We keep a mileage log. Okay? So again, piece of paper, calendar, Google Calendar, your phone. Every time you go to a customer, every time you do something for the business and you use your vehicle, I want you to write down the mileage. And then on January 1, we write down the odometer. On December 31st, we write down the odometer. We add up all of the business mileage, we sum it, and we subtract that amount so we know exactly what our percentage is for business and personal over the course of the year. Any questions? I have a full head full of faces here. Not one person's nodding at me.
There's
Awesome.
there's a bunch of questions in the chat.
Okay. I'm going to
Lisa
let
says
you.
she keeps track of deliveries. Stephanie says she keeps an envelope in the car and writes her mileage on the envelope.
Perfect. I don't
Michelle
care
wrote
how you do it.
car battery?
Car battery too. Yes.
Okay.
Car battery. Any money you spend on your vehicle. Okay. Don't care. Oh, okay. I rephrase. Almost every penny you spend on the vehicle. Okay. You cannot pay for a paint job. That can't be written off against your business. But if you go get a decal with Epicure on it, that can be a business write-off under advertising. Okay. Make sense?
Anita
Heather,
says, what about car washes?
yes, car washes too. Car washes, yes, absolutely. That's 100% a business write-off. Parking.
Sorry.
Parking. Every time you put a meter, a dollar, a toonie, sorry, it's now a toonie. I remember when it was a quarter, guys. I actually remember when it was a dime. This is gray hair. Yeah, it really was a dime at one time. Every time you put a toonie in the meter, business write-off. Keep each and every one of those receipts. Poor Heather looks like she's not keeping those receipts because she's going, oh my God, I didn't know this. I can see it on her face.
This is why we're having it. And then you can talk to Tammatha after. Melissa, you have your hand up. Do you want to?
What do you need, hon? Unmute. Go ahead.
I just use Google Calendar and I log when I go do my deliveries. And then I go on Google Maps and I just kind of do it manually. I use Money Dance. And then I kind of extract everything up onto Excel.
As long as you're doing it is what I'm getting at. Okay. Because here's what I've noticed after 30 years of doing taxes. Most people don't do that. And that's the problem. So what ends up happening is Revenue Canada comes and does a review, which they will do. Every tax return gets reviewed at least once in 10 years. And they're going to look at your tax return, and they're not looking for trouble. They're not looking to cause you grief. They just want to make sure that you're preparing your taxes properly. And if you claim that you have mileage expenses or car expenses and you don't have the appropriate documents that they want, then they're going to disallow the expense. You're going to pay more in taxes because that is an expense that decreases your income. And on top of that, you might pay penalties. So this is why we make sure we have our paperwork in order so that they don't do that to you. Yes, Heather. I can see you.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm clear with this. So when we figure out the percentage of mileage that we are using for business, that percentage is what we're writing off of our expenses for our vehicle, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I followed like that.
That's okay. I'm going to make this stupid simple. I spend $100 in car expenses over the year. I drove 100 kilometers over the course of the year. 10% of that was business. I'm going to write off 10% of my car expenses against my taxes.
Okay, totally makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm seeing all these questions. Oh my God. Do you keep all of the side gigs separately? I do actually. I keep all my side gigs separate, but I'm also an accounting professional, so I'm a little OCD and a little weird. Do you have to? No. Quite honestly, no, you don't. But here's the thing. If you don't, then it's really difficult to keep track of everything. I personally separate everything because I'm going to get a T4A from Unique. I'm going to get a T4A from Epicure. I'm going to get my T4 from my real job because I actually am an employee of my corporation. I'm going to get from my sole proprietorship, I'm going to be earning income in that I have to keep separated so that I know that I have captured everything properly. You can lump it all together. You're going to have fun with that. It's going to be tough, but you can do it. I'm not going to say you can't. Just make sure that you got your OCDs in place and that you're making sure that you're capturing everything. You absolutely can. Another way to do it is have that Excel spreadsheet, but you have each tab be your different side hustles. It's another way of doing it. This way you're not expending a lot of money in programs or apps or that kind of thing. Google Sheets is great. It's free. You can't mess with that. The price is right.
I missed tons of questions here. I have one job and I failed already.
And
Sorry,
you
everyone.
bad.
That's good. I'm not doing this talk. Okay. Lisa said earlier, where do we claim Zoom and Canva fees, into which category?
Advertising and expenses. So advertising, you have a couple different choices. So Canva is an advertising tool. You can write it off as advertising. And here's the thing, I don't want you to get hung up on the categories, okay? It's not about the categories. It's about you being able to explain yourself if you were ever reviewed by an agent, okay? Straight up. They're not here to cause you grief. It's a business expense, people, straight up. It is a business expense. If you put it in advertising, you put it in advertising. Some people will put it in office supplies. Doesn't matter. I don't want you to get hung up on categories. What I want you to understand is, did I spend that money to make money? If the answer is yes, it's a business expense. Simple. You can put it in advertising, you put it in office expenses, and guess what? Those are really the only two that you've got that you can do it on a 2125. That's where you would claim these expenses. That's the actual name of the form. But there's a section down below where you can type in or write in applications, because there's not an actual place on the tax return for applications or programs, but you can type in applications if you wish as a separate entity. It's not going to trigger anything. It is a true business expense.
Okay, one more. Anita says, can we scan the receipts to a computer and save it that way? Or does it have to be a physical hard copy?
Now I am going to swear, hell yeah. I am the biggest believer when it comes to scanning your receipts. We all have had those gas receipts that faded to nothing, right? We've all been there, every one of us. So here's the thing. Revenue Canada has 7 years to review you. Today, they could go back 7 years if you owned a business and say, I want to see this receipt. And guess what? The receipt's gone because it faded, because it was on thermal paper. I have this app. It's called Dext, D-E-X-T. It's an app I download to my phone. Yes, it costs money. I honestly will tell you it is the best $25 a month that I spend. Every receipt is captured on my phone. Every receipt. Worth it. Worth every penny. If you don't want to do that, you don't want to spend $25 a month, here's your tip for today. Take a picture of the receipt, drop it into Google Drive. It's another way of doing it. We all can do Google Drive on our phones now because phones are little mini computers. Take a picture with your cell phone and then take the picture and drop it into Google Drive. Costs you nothing to do that. You have your receipts. Okay. This way, if the dog ate the receipt, if the cat peed on it, if the child ate it, if it went for a walk off a short pier, you know where it is. It's in Google Drive. Okay.
Sorry, everyone, these are out of order. Nancy says, how do we keep a record of when a few of us consultants go in on team gifts, like Julie and I shared team hats? So how do we save those? Also later, show us what the hat looks like, but that's an aside.
That's a completely different aside. Yes, I want to see the hat because now I want the hat. And that's now my fee. And I want the hat.
All right, Nancy, give her the hat.
I want the hat. So yes, even though you have shared the cost with someone else, that receipt, you both share it. So whomever purchased the item, somebody purchased the item originally, you send a copy of that receipt to your buddy and specifically cut it in half. Like there's some honesty going on here. Like you obviously are friends or you wouldn't have been sharing the receipt. You guys claim 50%. Easy peasy. Well, I got 12 questions going on here. I'm not even looking at questions.
Okay. Evelyn says, this is a great question, Evelyn. Is there a certain amount I need to earn to write off expenses?
No, not at all. Oh, and wait until you hear about the other expenses you can write off that I haven't talked about yet. You don't have to. But here's the thing. Revenue Canada really, really, really doesn't mind if you lose money in your first year. Sometimes don't mind losing money in a second year either. But if you consistently lose money in your business, it's really, truly a side hustle. First year, they get it. Second year, they kind of get it. Third year, they don't get it because by now you should be making some cash. There should be some money going on here. You can't take a continuous deduction or a loss in your business without Revenue Canada coming knocking on your door. Okay. They don't consider that business. Here's a great example, which is why I don't claim unique on my taxes. I never make money at unique. I sell the odd mascara here or there, and I make sure that I buy enough product to demo so that I wipe off the income. It does not make sense for me to claim it. I can't be bothered. That's number one. Number two, it's paperwork that I just cannot, I just don't want to keep, to be honest with you. I make sure that I have enough product purchased to match my T4A. That's all I do. I don't write it off on my taxes. If I claimed a loss, which I could possibly do every year, Revenue Canada is going to look at me funny. They're going to do a review, and I'm trying to avoid that. Is it legal to do what I just said? It absolutely is. Do you, oh, I'm seeing some questions here. Sorry, I love this pop-up. Do you keep all the paperwork on the hazards when people pick up things from the house? What part of this can you claim? Whoa, okay, hang on here. Let's back this up. I'm seeing so many questions. I write off local mileage, delivery mileage. So a customer orders something in a group party that is shipped to me, something I use to not think about logging. Yes, you should be, local delivery mileage should be logged as a business expense. What about your stock? Absolutely. You should be writing off your stock. Can we scan the receipts to computer and save that way? Absolutely. Again, use Google Drive because it is free. I got audited 3 years in a row until the third year. Then CRA owed me more than I paid. Ha ha. Haven't bothered you since. Way to go, girl. Lisa just Google Calendar and I use Money Dance program. Yes, you do. Good for you. Do you keep all your side gigs separate? Last year was the only time I drove was to deliver or errands. Okay, so remember to write down that mileage. How do I figure out what is a business expense percentage? So I think I've covered this. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm just going to go over it really quickly again. You take all of the costs, you add them all together, and then you look at your, in this case, your odometer over the course of the year. How much mileage did you drive in total? And then you separate or subtract just your business mileage. That will give you the percentage that you need for the vehicle. Internet bill, how do you claim? Again, same thing. So your internet is now usually unlimited internet bills, but a portion of it is home and a portion of it is business. 90% of the time, I would say we are on our phones most of the time for business. I would say at least 90%, especially as Epicure consultants or anyone else, Pampered Chef, regardless. I would write 100% of my phone off. But when it comes to internet, because my family uses my internet, I use 50%. It's about being fair, guys, right? If you write off 100%, now be an agent here. Pretend to be someone you're not. If you saw someone writing off 100% of their internet and they had a side hustle, do you think that's accurate? Especially if you see that they have kids on their tax return? Chances of that being accurate is pretty slim. So they're going to look at that and say, no, that's not right. And they're going to give a percentage to you, which can be 10%, 12%, 20%, unless you can justify it. So what I say, 50% of your internet is fair because 50% of the time is a business related expense. It's about just being logical about it. Can I write off the cost of a new Chromebook or laptop for the cost of the business? That is called, and I'm going to get technical here, that is called a capital asset. Okay. My cell phone is $1,200 because it's an iPhone, because I'm one of those kind of people. I cannot write off $1,200 in 1 year because it is something that lasts longer than 1 year. So when I own something, i.e. this MacBook that I'm doing this presentation on, or this cell phone, because this thing has a lifespan of more than 1 year, the cost gets split over the lifetime of the asset. Okay, I see some nods. Some of you are not nodding. Let me explain it a little differently. This table, this desk can live for 10 years before I break it. Possibly less if I get really angry and hit it enough times. If that's the case and it lives for 10 years, I should be taking the cost of it and spreading it out over the lifetime of the asset. It's called capital cost allowance. That's the big word for it. This is where we have a tax professional help you. Okay. If you have assets, then we need to have a tax professional have a conversation with you. There's a whole calculation involved. I'm not going to go into it in this conversation because it's not generally something you guys worry about. But if you have physical assets, the Chromebook, a cell phone that you purposely bought to do your business, I want you to do me a favor, get a hold of me. Let's have a chat and I'll help you with that free of charge. Okay. It can be done in 15 minutes, guys. Okay.
Oh, Carly had a really good question. She doesn't do lives and she takes pictures of her food.
That's fine. Her cell phone is a business expense.
But can she claim the food still?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I was going to say, Carly, do some lives. I promise your people will love you. That's my hot tip for you.
Okay, so I don't do lives. I am so afraid. I hate them, but I don't mind doing Zoom calls, especially if there's something in the glass that isn't coffee. Just putting it out there. Works like a charm.
I don't do lives because I have too many little ones running around that are going to just cause havoc at any moment. So
see, mine is because I live in the country and I have the worst internet ever. Yes, so lives don't work.
Yeah, there's a few things at play, but I rather like just kind of record it previous and then just
exactly
like, add it after, not a live, but a pre-recording.
Pre-recorded. I have the best internet between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Because nobody's on it.
Nobody's on. And that's when I do my things, right? That's when I do it. And I get that. So if that's what you do, you do a pre-record, you take pictures of your food. At the end of the day, did you spend money to make money in your business? If the answer is yes, it's a business expense. You're going to get used to those words if you get to know me more and more. You have teenagers. Oh, I'm so sorry, Lisa. Been there, done that. When I'm doing a live. Yeah, I have a husband, so we're all good. What if it's your supper and just sharing it in your VIP group? Okay. Good question. I'm going to say the answer to that is no. Logically speaking here, and again, it's about being, it's about looking at it. There's writing business expenses off, and then there's going out for dinner. You went out for dinner, you took a picture of it. Did you do a pre-recorded or pictures because you were making something special and you were taking all of this pictures to do this really great slideshow for Facebook or Instagram, and you were leading up to something and your family had it afterwards? Little different. Because you're going to take that advertising that you did, all of those photographs, all of that for that meal. Yes, you did prepare it for your family, but you're going to reuse that a number of times because trust me, you are not going to use it once because there's a lot of work involved in that. You're going to use it more than once. You're going to show it in your VIP group. And then the next time you're going to show it in your VIP group a month from now, you're going to take out some of those pictures. You're going to change the captions. You're going to change it up because you're going to have new people in your VIP group. Happens all the time. Okay. So if you're going to have that meal for dinner, great, not a problem. But you still bought it to do a demo. Your demos and pictures, it's pre-recorded or it's pre-taken and you are sharing it in your VIP group. As long as you're continuing to use those photographs again for further advertising at a later date, you absolutely can write it off.
There's a really good question I missed from Amanda.
Sorry, Amanda.
Amanda, I might make you explain this. What's the difference between the work from home expenses you can claim as an employee working from home and the business expenses? And Amanda, I know Amanda has another full-time gig as well as Epicure.
Oh, Amanda. And this is a COVID year. This is a whole different conversation. So this year for 2020, when I say this year, I mean 2020, they've come out with something called the T2200S, which is the 2200 short form. This is a long story, guys. The 2200 is for people who work from home. It is working from home employment by your employer who's asked you to work from home. Generally speaking, in the past, prior to COVID, you had to get that document signed by your boss, and then you are allowed to claim certain things. For 2020, the government has completely they're opening the doors here. You are allowed to work from home. You just have to know how many days you worked from home. You get a dollar value per day up to $400. That is different than your business use of home for your small business. Okay. Your small business needs an office. This is why you can claim business use of home. Your office, air quotes, can be your kitchen table. It can be a desk that you've set up in a spare room. It can be the corner of your garage. It can be a small section of your living room. It cannot be your whole house. It cannot be 50% of your floor plan. It has to be a section where you do the paperwork for your business. In our case, or most of our cases, you cannot include the kitchen and this space at the same time, because the kitchen is your living room. That is where you live. That is where you prepare meals 99% of the time. What you do is you look at where you have your office, okay? What is the square footage of that? Whatever the square footage is, take that and multiply it by the total square footage of your home. That's going to give you the percentage of all of your household bills that you can claim for business use of home. Okay, so I'm going to grab, hang on here, I'm pretty sure I have one, and I do, because I'm so awesome like that. And I'm going to draw a picture, because I'm really good at that too. This is your home. This is your office. You have $1,000 worth in bills. You can claim this percentage of your home as a percentage, and you can claim a portion of this $1,000 in expenses against your taxes. Okay. What can you claim? You cannot claim the mortgage on your home, but you can claim the mortgage interest that you had over the course of the year. So if 10% of my house is my office and I had mortgage interest of $1,000, I can claim 10% of my mortgage interest. Let's go back to that spreadsheet you were all downloading because you really like that spreadsheet, remember? Let's go back to that spreadsheet for a minute, and you're going to see that we have home office here. And in home office, you can write off a percentage of your heat, which can be gas, propane, wood, pellets, whatever, electricity and water, insurance for your property, home maintenance. Now, that doesn't mean you can write off your windows. That doesn't mean you can write off your roof. That doesn't mean that you can write off a brand new front door, because these improve the value of your property. These are things that you would recoup if you sold your property. What can you write off? Believe it or not, if you decorate the front of your home with new perennials or new annuals. Now, don't go hog wild and go crazy, but if you go out and you buy a flat bed of flowers to make the front of your house look pretty because you have customers, there's the key word, because you have customers come to your home, you can write off that flat of flowers. If you replace a light bulb in your foyer, that's where your customers come. You replace that light bulb, you can write off that light bulb. You paint your office, not your entire house, but your office. You can write off the paint for your office. That is maintenance on your home. You cannot replace your roof and write that off. You cannot replace a window and write that off. You cannot write off a new deck you put in the back of the house. I don't care if you have a Zoom in it or not. You can't write those things off. Those improve the value of your property. You will recoup it upon sale of your home. You can write off mortgage interest. See right there, mortgage interest. You can write off a portion of your property taxes. If you don't own your own home and you rent, you can write off a percentage of the rent. If you have a phone, this is where I draw the line. I have a home phone and I have a cell phone. I do not write off my home phone. I write off my cell phone only. Internet, cable, if you are in town, and other expenses. They will ask you to specify. I have seen people write off their water heater. I have seen people write off their water cooler. Does that answer your questions, ladies? Does that help? Does that make it clear? Okay, So business use of home is a little different, but you can write off a portion of your office. That is your business use of home.
Oh, we had some questions about microwaves. I can't find the question anymore. I think it was Anita.
I'll
Yeah.
just say
Yeah,
it.
thank you, Anita. Thank you. And anyone else I missed their questions?
My microwave knocks out my internet.
Well, that bites. Sorry.
No, I agree. It does. There's a reason to have two steamers. You pre-cook the chicken, have it to the side, do your demo, and oh, look, the chicken's cooked. But that sucks.
Try that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I did that for a demo the other day, and it worked fantastic because of my
Awesome.
kitchen setup. And they don't see that I really did cook the chicken. But so I called MTS, who our Wi-Fi is with, and they said, no, it's not your Wi-Fi, it's your microwave. Your microwave is old and is leaking radiation. Don't give yourself cancer, get a new microwave. And I'm like, okay, I honestly don't think it's the microwave. I think it's the router that they did something to last year, but I am buying a new microwave. It will be here on Tuesday. And I'm buying it for the sole purpose of doing, because I do this. This is my full-time thing. So I do.
Okay, that was my
demos.
next question to you. Is this your full-time gig?
Yes.
Then the answer is yes.
And so I thought I bought $150 microwave, and rather than buying the $60 microwave.
I honestly, and that's not a problem, because this is your full-time gig. Yes, you're going to use it partially for home. It's going to happen. Generally speaking, it is predominantly used for your lives. Yes, you can write it off. If you think that you're only using it 50%, so again, it's a judgment call at this point. If you think it's only going to be 50%, then I would write off 50%. Because we're not talking about a lot of money here. We're talking about $150.
Yeah, we pretty much eat what I cook in the demo, and I'm doing demos 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week.
Write it off. I could justify that. So again, and this is something else I say to people who are preparing the taxes. You have to be able to confidently stand in front of a CRA auditor and say, this is definitely a business expense, and you can prove it. And you just proved it to me, Anita, not a question asked there. You can prove the fact that this is predominantly business. If you can do that confidently, it is definitely a business expense. So it becomes a bit of a judgment call. What is a business expense for some people isn't always a business expense for someone else. Anyone else have any questions? Unmute yourself, throw your hands up. You're welcome, Anita.
One question from Vanessa, who's a part-timer. Nothing wrong with that, obviously. But she says, if I only made $530 over the year, do I have to enter that T4 in my taxes?
You absolutely have to enter it because someone else has already submitted that to Revenue Canada. So here's the thing. If any document starts with T, guess who's got it already? CRA. If you don't file it on your taxes, they're going to reassess you and you're going to have it on your taxes anyway. So you might as well do it. And you might as well have, and I'm being honest, enough expenses to decrease that $540 T4A down to zero. How much do you, oh my goodness. How do you approach it if you haven't earned enough money to be provided a T4? Amanda, is this your first year?
Amanda, you can unmute yourself. I don't know where you are.
Yes.
Where are you, Amanda? Okay.
That's okay. She said yes. How long have you been in the business, hon? 6 months, 3 months? Since October? If you're not being issued a T4A, you will not be issued a T4. It'll be a T4A. I honestly wouldn't be claiming it straight up. You may not get that answer from someone else, but that's me being honest. You're not getting a document that's being submitted to CRA. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you've only been in it for 2 months. Logistically, I bet you spent more than $530 to make that $530. I'm being logical here. The chances of you having to have to claim it is zero. Does our products from Epicure that we buy, do they need to claim that, or can you deduct any product that you buy that's for demonstration purposes or using purposes? So any silicone, any items, any pens, anything that you buy to do your demos can be written off in its entirety. What if your expenses exceed your T4A? That's fine. Your expenses can exceed by at least, I would say 2 years for sure. By the 3rd year, if you're not making more money than you're spending, you don't have a side hustle. Does Epicure mail out T4s? They should, and I would imagine, or you should be able to pick it up in your back portal.
Yeah, I think they mailed them out. Lisa, you're nodding, right? T4As. And
Okay.
I think it was over 500 that they mailed it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Way to go.
$500.
If
Okay,
you
thanks.
made over $500, then they mailed it out to you. And if you didn't get one, then you didn't make over $500.
Okay, so then again, that makes sense. And guys, think of it from this perspective. You had to have spent, and I can say this from personal experience, more than $500 between the kit, between picking up stuff for demos. You've well spent more than $500. Don't worry about it. Okay, if you didn't get a T4A from Epicure, moving on. Okay, straight up simple.
Ooh, good question from Pat. What if, oh wait, you kind of covered this. What if
That's
your
okay.
expenses exceed your T4?
Yeah, again, you know what? If they do exceed for the first couple of years, that's fine. Revenue Canada does expect your business not to make money in the first couple of years. And here's the other thing. If you don't have, and I hate to use the three-letter word JOB, you have nothing to write it off against, right? There's a T4, that's what you get from working for someone else, an employer. Then there's the T4A, you get T4As from side hustles. If you make no money in your side hustle and you're actually in a loss position, that loss is written off against your T4 income. Okay, so now I'm going to get really technical here and try to dumb it down for you. You paid taxes on your T4 income based on the money that you earned. So if you made $20,000 in your real job or in your day job, you pay taxes on $20,000. You have a side hustle that lost money. That loss is applied to your $20,000, which means we'll say you lost $2,000. Your net income is $18,000, but you paid taxes on $20,000. See what happens here? You get a bigger refund. Revenue Canada will only allow that to happen for a short period of time before they say, you're not in a side hustle. You're just looking for a deduction here and you're doing this wrong. And they will catch you. They will get to you eventually, but 2 years, they let you go. 3 years, I've seen them let you go for 5 before they actually had to ask for more explanation. And I've seen them allow it go longer than that, especially during COVID, but don't push the envelope. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Suzanne, sorry we missed your question. So she says, I tried asking a few times. If you didn't keep track of your mileage, can you still use your gas receipts?
No. Sorry. So here's what I would suggest. Okay, not everybody tracked mileage. I get it. You have an idea though, based on your back office. Who had a party? Did you deliver? Because I mean, it was a year. You might have delivered twice. Do an average, do a percentage. Try to remember, go back and remember. If you can't do that,
just letting you know, Google Maps helps you with that.
Yeah.
You can put direction to and from, and they'll tell you the mileage or the kilometers.
And another thing about Google Maps too is it's really great if you have medical appointments. Again, this is not has anything to do with side hustles. It's still taxes, but it's if you have a medical appointment and it's more than 40 kilometers from your home, you can claim the mileage to go from your home to your doctor's appointment. And you use Google Maps for that, FYI. Okay, it's an expense that you can write off on your medical expenses. So Google Maps is great for that too, FYI. What if you don't have a full-time job? Okay, Salima, I want you to unmute if you can, and I want you to ask your question.
Also, it's noon. If anyone needs to jump off, I just want to be mindful of time.
And I'm recording this, so if you have to jump off, the recording will be provided to Anne, who will provide it to all of the global leaders on this call, okay?
I forgot to send it to you, just message me, because I will.
If you earn the cost of your kit back, I assume then you can't claim it, as a direct message. That's okay, Brianna. And you earned it back. It's a net wash, Brianna. So if your kit was only $300, you're not going to get a T4A anyways. So it's not something I would worry about. I really would only worry about it if you're getting a T4A. If you choose to claim any income that you earned without a T4A, that's perfectly fine. I want to make that really, really clear. So if you made $200 and that's what you have in your records, that you made $200 and you had $300 in expenses, you absolutely can claim that. But it's the onus is on you to keep track. It's not a T4A that's been provided to you by Epicure or any other consulting situation. The onus is on you to keep track of that.
Oh, Sandy had a question I missed earlier. Sandy, are you there? It was about bonuses, and maybe I'll let you go off mute and explain it.
Okay, so yes, my question is that if we have, as team leaders and such, and we get our bonuses, how do we incorporate our bonuses with our taxes? Because in the past, I've never even claimed deductions when I do my Epicure bill. I've just gone with it. And so this year I'm definitely going to do that.
Oh, you definitely are. So it's still income. Okay, so when you're looking at the 21-25, however you prepare your taxes, that's the form where you're preparing for Epicure. You're going to have your T4A amount, which includes all of your income. If your bonus is not included on the T4A, you're going to add that in with that T4A number. If it's already on your T4A, it's going to be listed on the 21-25 as income earned. Then you're going to list your expenses underneath it, which is going to decrease the income that you earned from Epicure. And at the bottom is going to be what your income is after all expenses have been taken into consideration. Is that clear?
Okay, one more question about that.
Absolutely.
Because I've never claimed deductions in the past, however, I do have receipts. Can you go back and redo that or no? Okay.
You can, absolutely. It's called an amendment.
Right, but it's not.
Well, it depends on how much money you lost. Because if you have expenses that are like $1,000, think about it. That's quite a chunk. And I'm not going to ask you what your personal tax rate is, Sandra. I'm not. But the average person has tax rates between 18% and 48%, depending on your income and your husband's income. So if you had $1,000 in expenses that you did not claim and your average is 25%, you just literally gave $250 to the government. It is definitely worth doing an amendment to your taxes for that kind of money.
Okay. Thank you.
So not a problem. And any tax preparer can help you with that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Angela, where are you?
Just don't go to H&R Block. And I'm being really, really, really biased here. Do not go to H&R Block. These people have 2 weeks of training and then they shove them on out there. Please do not go there.
Wait, where's Angela? She was going to say something.
I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Angela.
I was just thinking about the question that the person had about the kit cost, if they get refunded for it, because I know some of my consultants are going to have that question. And I would think that, yes, they would still claim it because when they get refunded it's coming to them on bonus day and it's counting as their income. So if they don't claim the initial cost, they're going to basically be dinged for it twice. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But here's the thing. If it's reimbursed to them, and so I'm going to go back to my original comment. If your T4A is more than $500, you should have corresponding expenses to go with it. Okay. If your consultant had less than $500, they're not going to get a T4A. So this is a moot conversation unless they're keeping track of their own income that they've earned inside of Epicure. So if they earned, including the cost of the reimbursed kit, $300 and their expenses were $400, absolutely go ahead and claim it. But the onus is on them to keep track of the income that they've earned, which would include the replacement value or the reimbursement value of the kit. Does that make sense? Okay.
I'm just more thinking of people that definitely do get the T4A because they're going to want to claim that expense. Because the T4A is going to include that reimbursement. right? Yeah. So they want to take it back off again. Yeah.
So again, did I spend money to make money? If the answer is yes, it is a business expense and we're going to write it off against the business.
Perfect.
Always use that phrase. It will become your best friend, I promise you.
I have another question if I can.
By all means.
So I don't actually have an office. I work out of my living room. So what would be like an appropriate percentage, because it's not like I don't want to write off the whole thing because it's not used
I get
100% of the time, right?
So coming in under what we call the radar, there's an actual line in CRAs. They call it a temperance level. Okay. If you're under, wink, wink, 15%, you're good.
Okay.
So if someone comes to me and says, I don't know, I use my living room, I write off 10%.
Okay.
That's the magic number.
Okay.
I've seen it go as high as 15. But that again depends on the industry. How much product do you keep in your house?
Right.
Right. So if you're like me, I mean, I got boxes of this stuff because I love it. And if I was selling, I would write off the warehouse area also.
Okay.
Right. So I've seen what you guys are doing, having the shoe rack, which by the way, I don't know who started that, but that's really awesome. Using the shoe rack to keep track of things in your closet or your food cupboard or whatever the case may be, that would turn into a warehouse for me.
Okay.
Because that's where I keep all of my extra Epicure.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But
yeah, as long as
between 10 and 12%, you're
okay.
going to come in under the radar.
Yeah, as long as I can stay under, then then I'm good.
You just don't want to trigger anything, right? And then you
For sure.
And a trigger is going to be 15 or higher, unless you can prove it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, darling. But a lot of great tips. I'm so sorry it was Greek for you, Tina. It's accounting. It's boring. It's taxes.
A few people asked how they hire you.
Oh.
And you got lots of praise.
And I love you all, and you're all great. You can hire me, absolutely. So here's the thing. We do our taxes virtually, which means you do not physically have to come to me. We use tools like ShareFile, where you can provide us with your documentation and we can prepare your taxes for you. This is not, I want you to be aware, this is not why I did the Zoom call. I did this because it's my responsibility to make sure all of you have the tools that you need to make the right decisions for your businesses. I truly, truly, truly believe that, okay? If you want to hire me, I am going to give you my email address and you're more than welcome to reach out. Okay, we will help you. If you want to have your taxes completed by my firm, I am giving you my tax office email and it is in the chat. It is info, I-N-F-O, at QBAinc.ca. I'm going to repeat that. It's info at QBAinc.ca. What's going to happen is that's going to go to my tax prepping people. We do over 3,000 taxes per year. We have a team that does the taxes and we have the senior auditors, one of which is me. We review your stuff. Okay. Call us if you want. We'll definitely give you prices. We are definitely not city cost because we are in Belleville. So you get Belleville prices. It's a little cheaper than I would think Toronto. I had someone, actually, she's a friend of mine and I love her to death. She prepares a basic tax return for $150 and I fell off my chair. I fell off my freaking chair. I'm like, they pay that? They actually pay that? Crap. I'm not charging enough. So yeah, just so you know, I don't have city prices. Our basic return costs are $100. Okay. For a 2125, we do charge more. Okay, so a 2125 is on top of the $100 is $150 because it is a business cost. You get to write that $150 off against your taxes. So it's a business expense. Remember going back to that spreadsheet that you're all going to download, that there was a spot there for professional fees. That's where your taxes go for your business. right? That's a business expense. Don't ever let anyone not tell you differently. Look at you go, Anne. Thank you so much. So for all of you that definitely want to have a chat with me, I totally get it. I'm going to give you a completely different email now because this one goes to me directly. Okay. I don't care if you blow up my email box. It's a long, crazy email, so I'm typing it in the chat. This goes directly into my email. If I get 500 of you sending me an email, it's going to take me a little longer to get back to all of you, but you will get me. I will respond. Okay, just give me a couple of days if needed. If you have a personal situation that takes longer than a few minutes in an email to respond, I will send you a video. If your question is more complex, I will set up a 15-minute meeting with you and I will answer your question. At the end of the day, the idea is to give you what you need so that you file your taxes accurately to the best of your ability. Or if you want something else, you know where to go. But if you want to take this on your own, I'll help you. Now, I'm going to suggest that we do this again in 2 more weeks. I'm willing to give you, no, I'm awesome sauce.
Got some smiles there, I think.
I think so. So what I'm going to do, hey, Jan, there's my girl. She's been there bugging. She's such a sweetheart. I love her. She's my best buddy. She is my friend and she is a colleague of mine. Jan is an accounting professional in this world. So she can verify that I am not a twat as she laughs at me. Okay, guys, that all being said, as I mentioned, you now have my email address. By all means, reach out if you have a question. I have no problems helping out. I am going to post another event. It's going to be Tax Talk with Tammatha. I will make sure that it's posted inside of Anne's group. I will make sure that Lisa is aware of it. If you're not following me on Facebook, I'm Tammatha Denyes. It is my entrepreneur website. Like, that's where you get all this information, where I give away these free chats. I love you all. I don't know what else to say. If there's anything else I can do for you other than smile, I don't know what that can be. Any other questions?
Thank you. That was amazing. I feel like this collective sigh of relief that everyone's like, okay, we're going to be all right this year. And then
you're going to be fine.
2021
guys.
is going to be amazing. We're going to write off everything. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one who was like, oh, I forgot to make that expense or write this off. Or
there is a lot of things that people, just, you're not business owners, right? This isn't your thing. This isn't your jam. But that being said, I don't do roofing. Like, I couldn't tell you what to write off in a roof. It's not my jam. I don't do that. My husband's an engineer. Do you know, I've been married to him for 20 years. He says to me, I asked him what he did for a living. He says, I get paid to work from here up. That doesn't, I've been sleeping beside you for 20 freaking years. That tells me nothing. It took a 16-year-old to explain it to me. My husband is one of those engineers that doesn't work from his head up. He looks at what mechanical engineers create, put together, and if it breaks, he fixes it. Well, why didn't he say that to me 20 years ago? I would have understood that. That being said, I don't do what he does. Oh, hello, Lisa. Nice to meet you. I finally got to see you on my front page.
Sandra says, can you recap the links of emails? Yes, I will drop it. I dropped this in 500 team groups. So I will go back and drop the link and the info in all the.
Absolutely,
I
guys.
dropped it in every random group I could find.
So guys, again, anything you need, let me know. I don't mind helping. I will give you another Saturday. I don't care if this call goes for 2 hours. It's all the same to me. I just want you guys to have the tools that you need. If you know someone else that is not Epicure and needs to have this information, share it, please. I have no problems with that also. I will put this caveat at the end. This is not free advice. I am not giving advice. I am just answering questions, okay? They are generic at best. I don't tell you how much taxes you're going to get back or not, unless I actually physically do your tax return and I know more about you as a human being. That can mean how many children you have, whether you have rent or you have a mortgage, how many jobs you have besides this. If you're married and have a spouse and they have income that's combined, there's so many factors that are involved in taxes that each and every person is unique. Okay, so no promises to anything I've said. I've given you basic general advice that I would give to any business owner today. And I'm done. Oh yes, Anita, one question.
I'm tired of typing. I'm just going to say it.
Just go ahead.
Then it's on the recording. Okay, I make more money than, not as much as I want, but hubby can't claim me.
Got you.
So do we have to file joint or we can just file?
There's no choices here. You're married.
So we still have to file joint legally,
well, see,
even though he's not claiming me.
Well, here's how it works when it comes to taxes. You're both filing separately. You're filing separately. You're filing a tax return, your husband's filing a tax return. But there is 2 lines on your tax return. One asking, are you married? And once you check that box, then all of a sudden another box down below comes up that says, how much did your honey make? And that's how your taxes are filed together.
We're a little behind, so we were hoping we could just get one of them filed.
You can, absolutely you can. So if your husband's ready to go ahead and file him. That's not a problem. What they will end up doing, and I have couples who do this, you know, the wife owns a business and it's actually a physical business. She hasn't done her bookkeeping for 2 years and the husband has filed his taxes. She goes and she files. What ends up happening is he gets reassessed. So you absolutely can file yours or your husband's, depending on where it's at. Absolutely. Okay. But the spouse will be reassessed once the income has been located or recorded. Okay. Not a big deal. Happens all the time. You wouldn't believe what I see.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thanks everyone for spending the hour with us on Saturday morning.
Hour and 20 minutes. And it wasn't cartoons. And it wasn't cartoons, guys. You are so welcome, guys. Like I said, anytime I am here for you, I have no problems doing this. Now, I want to thank all of you for attending. Here's the best part. I have an email list. I share tax tips. I share small business tips. I smear automations. I share automations. So things like, do you have an app to track your mileage? I share that kind of thing on my email list with people. If you're interested in joining my email list, if you go down to the event, you'll notice that I've dropped my email list there. You will, I'm not going to lie, I have different programs, I do different things, I have courses, I do taxes. So the type of information that you will not be bombarded with, but you will receive will depend on whether you want to see it or not. So it could be tax information in August based on small businesses. It could be, look at this new app that came out because this is really awesome. I think you business owners really need to see it. Okay. I will at times sell you my programs. I am a business owner. It's the way I work. But if you want the tidbits, that's how I get them to you generally between January 1st and December 31st. Tax time, I go a little bit out of my way because I have a heart and it's bigger than most people's. So if you want to have those types of things, you're more than welcome to join my email list. I promise you, I'm not really salesy, if you know what I mean. And Jan will attest to this. I'm not one of those really salesy kind of people, but I do provide value. I really think it's important. It's my life mission. Okay, guys. All right. So what I'm going to do is set up the next event as soon as I hang up. You're more than welcome to share. Again, I'll share it with Anne. Anne, I'm going to drop the recording into Google Drive. I will send you the link to Google Drive. Okay, my friend?
Perfect. Thanks,
Lots of love, everybody. If you have any questions and you want me to turn off the recording and you don't want people to see it, you can hang around and ask the questions, okay? All right, I'm turning off the recording now.